Hey guys, this is Chris Matakas, and we created this channel because so many people do not fulfill their potential on and off the mats, and I don't want you to be one of them. I am a Jiu-Jitsu black belt, a school owner. I've written 13 books about using Jiu-Jitsu as a vehicle for personal development. And today, we're going to talk about the three biggest lessons I've learned from Gordon Ryan and how you can apply them to your game so we can try to replicate some of his success. So diving in, a little backstory. Gordon and I trained a lot for many years out of Ricardo Almeida's school in New Jersey. And this was from the point where he was probably like, I don't know, 17, 18, like right in the beginning of him becoming Gordon Ryan. So I kind of got to watch this crazy trajectory he was on. And I gleaned a lot of lessons along the way. So I wanted to share with you the biggest three that I've seen in his development. So the first one is champions think in long time horizons. So I remember when, again, he was probably 17, 18 years old and was thinking big picture. And when he weighed something like 170 pounds, the goal was clear. I'm going to be an absolute champion. I'm going to bulk up because my frame can support it, because I can dominate those higher weight classes. And he had what we now see as this behemoth of a man, Gordon Ryan. He had that picture in his mind when he was a 170-pound, slender, lean version of himself. So it was all about, I know the game I'm playing long term, and that's what I'm aiming at. And I'm going to strategically get there along the way with patience. And one thing that he and Gary would constantly come back and communicate to us after spending time with John Danaher is this idea that you can completely reinvent yourself in 5 years, that you can have anything, but you can't have everything. So if you get really clear on the one thing you want in a 5-year dedicated season of life, you can completely reinvent yourself. And he had that vision from the beginning relative to his physical body and obviously to the techniques he was going to acquire. But that always impressed itself upon me because no one else I was with was talking in long time horizons. And that's something that now, so many years later, I recognize as a general rule, the more successful somebody is, the longer a time horizon they talk about. Like they're not concerned with what's happening today in this week. You hear them say things, well, okay, in this decade, in this 5-year period of my life. And it's usually a good indication that they're going to allow the compound effect to occur in alignment with their very specific goal. So for me, listening to Gordon always talk about this, here's where I'm going, and it was so far down the road, but he thought in the time horizon of the next decade, it changed everything. So that was really useful for me, and I've continued to apply that in my own life, not getting caught up in the immediate, but really being aware of where we're going long term and how we're going to get there. So let's see. The second one is personal standards. So Tony Robbins has this famous line now, you don't get your shoulds in life, you get your musts. And one of the things that separated Gordon from just about everybody was the personal standard he held himself to technical jujitsu. Like if he made a mistake, he would get very frustrated about it. And he would very clearly ascertain the problem and find someone who had the solution, implement that solution, and then never make that mistake again. And this was something that we saw not just in training, but in tournaments. Like if he would win a tournament, but let's say he submitted the guy in 2 minutes, but he missed the submission attempt 1 minute in, he would watch the film, understand what went wrong, immediately break it down. And he would tell me stories through Danaher when GSP was fighting. And GSP, after winning a UFC belt in the locker room with his gloves still on, would be picking Danaher's brain about like, why could I not finish this armbar? And they would drill it out, minutes after the fight to make sure he really understood that. And Gordon had that same high personal standard and always has, that if a mistake was made, he would never make it again and he would figure out what it was. And he really held himself to the standard of, I'm going to become the best in the world. And obviously, if you don't hold yourself to that standard, you're not going to get there. So when we can backcast where he is now to where he was, we can see that like 18-year-old, 170-pound version of Gordon holding himself to the standard of, I'm going to get better faster than anybody. And he did it. And for me, that was a huge lesson in just holding yourself to a standard that might even seem beyond the scope of your capacity, But if you hold yourself to it, if it exists in the realm of possibility, you'll get there. So the third and final one that I learned from Gordon was he bet on himself. So this is a really useful story. Again, he was probably in that like 18, 19-year-old range where he had finished high school. I think he had taken a couple college courses, but all he wanted to do was jujitsu. And he was given this opportunity to get a job. It was like working for the township or the sewer authority. And it had, a good salary. It had benefits. It would have been a huge level up for him financially at that time. But he had a decision to make. Am I going to bet on myself and jujitsu, or am I going to go the traditional route and kind of train part-time? And can you imagine if he had only trained part-time and if he had put his financial needs first before his jujitsu, his life would look radically different. And I remember him talking with Tom about this and with Gary about this, and we would talk about it on mat too after training. And ultimately, he bet on himself. And we see the fruits that have come from that decision. And I think the biggest lesson for me in that is just having the confidence that you are someone who is going to figure it out, whatever the endeavor it is, whether it's mastering jujitsu, whether it's success somewhere else. If you bet on yourself when a lot of people probably won't, and other people don't have to, if you make that firm commitment to yourself and have the resolve that I believe in me and all the investments I make are going to be in me, and any failures I have along the way are not really going to be failures because they're directly aligned with who I want to become. And any failure really just becomes invaluable experience that will lead to future success. I'm going to bet on me. And I think these three simple things of betting on yourself, having really high personal standards, and thinking in a long time horizon. You do those three. That's what Gordon's done since the beginning. There were three of the biggest lessons I got from him. And you can apply that to any area of life. And if you actually do it and fulfill that prescription, it's almost like success is inevitable because you can't have everything. But for most of us, we can have just about anything. If we know what we're aiming at, we get crystal clear in that, and we think in a long time horizon, we hold ourselves to a really high standard, and we bet on us. And these are, we hear these things, right? You hear them in like motivational Instagram reels and you read them in books, but it's really cool to watch someone from the beginning go from unknown dude with a lot of potential to manifesting that potential and becoming the best who have ever done it. It means a little bit more when you get to watch this firsthand and see this progress. So these are things that for me, I'm going to continually keep in mind and continually apply in my own journey because I do believe we can completely reinvent ourselves in 5 years. The matter that is most pressing is, are you reinventing yourself in a way that's aligned with who you really want to become and are destined to become? And once you have that orientation, I think we just commit. So these are lessons that I've learned from Gordon that have changed my life that I continue to apply today. I hope they're useful for you. And I hope these videos are for you. Again, I'm Chris Matakas, and we created this channel because so many people don't fulfill their potential on and off the mat, and I don't want you to be one of them. So if this was useful for me, or for you rather, please subscribe, comment, let me know where you're at, and we'll continue this journey together. Thanks, guys. Be well.